name is Shirley Crandall. I'm with San Antonio Lighthouse for the Blind. August is National Wellness Month, so we wanted to share some more information with you about our diabetes education training that we provide free of charge to visually impaired diabetics. We partner with registered nurses who provide training according to curriculum set forth by the Association of Diabetes Care and Education Specialists. They cover the following 7 topics: monitoring, taking medication, healthy eating, being active, healthy coping, reducing risk, and problem solving. The following is an excerpt from an interview with one of our registered nurses, Lyle. She provides some very important information on diabetes self-management. You might just want to get a pen and paper handy.
We have several different services that we offer, Diabetic Education being one of them. So, Lyle, tell me a little bit about your background in nursing.
I have been a registered nurse for quite a while. I have usually worked in hospital settings. I got my BSN in San Antonio from Incarnate Word College. We were still a college then, not a university. And then I received my master's in nursing administration from the UT Health Science Center in San Antonio. I've worked 30 years for the Department of Veterans Affairs, usually most of that time working in the VA hospitals. I did work 18 months part-time for the Big Spring State Hospital, and I've worked at other PRN type jobs. I too am legally blind. I was forced to kind of leave my wonderful job when I lost my eyesight.
So, of those 7 topics that you go over, what is generally the most challenging for people? Why does that tend to be the most challenging, and how do you handle that?
I do think that probably increasing activity and monitoring are the 2 that are the most pertinent ones that often are kind of neglected. I think that exercise is neglected because people they have this idea of what has to be done, and they think, well, I can't get out and jog a mile or something like that. But in reality, you don't have to. You don't have to have all that special equipment. You don't have to have a marathon training program. Just sometimes just starting a little bit. If you have stairs there, if you can go up and down the stairs several times, if you can do the stretching exercises, things like that, that will increase your activity. Just get moving.
Baby steps, yes. Just start where you are, do what you can do.
Yes.
Build on that.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the monitoring, people have a lot of, sometimes they have issues with monitoring. I think, number 1, sometimes it's the cost. If it comes to buying testing supplies or feeding your family, you're going to invest your money in food. You may not test as frequently because, again, the cost of the strips. You may not test because it's very painful. If you're sticking your finger in the wrong place, you're going to hit a little nerve ending, and it's going to be very painful. Number 1, we should never prick our finger on the finger pad, which is the part of your finger that would be fingerprinted. It's the bottom of your finger. You do not want to stick there, and you do not want to stick the tip end of your finger. All the nerve endings come to there. Now, we teach our consumers to manipulate their fingers to cover those areas that we don't want to prick, and we show them how to manipulate their fingers and use them as kind of like a fence. Like once you have your fingers situated, then you can run that strip right down and where you prick between your fingers, and you run that strip right down against one of them, and you're going to hit that droplet of blood if you can't see it. We teach totally blind people how to do this every day, and they have no problems. Now, if you can see the drop of blood, that's wonderful. Also, another painful issue is when people buy their Lancets, they get those smaller numbers, like 24, maybe something like that, 22. That is a larger needle that's sticking in the finger. If you buy a larger number gauge, such as 30 gauge, 28 gauge, the actual part of that lancet that goes into your finger is a lot smaller. The metal is a lot finer. It makes a smaller hole, but yet gives you plenty of blood for your sample, and you don't even feel it sometimes. Just what you put in your mouth, how much you exercise, and how often you monitor, those are things that you have control over, total control over. But we try to encourage them to test because it is so extremely important.
Yes, can't overemphasize that, I don't think. Managing your diabetes appropriately is going to minimize getting complications and minimizing the effects if you do get complications. So it is just so vital to have good management if you are diabetic.
When you do not know, you often can't make a decision about if your diabetes education is sufficient or not. So hopefully we are filling in the gaps. Again, we talk to the patients about all these 7 areas. We talk to them about how to manage everything and what to ask the doctor. You know, if you go to that doctor and you have questions, write them down before you go, and then hand him that list and say, I need the answers for these. Now, if you've gotten written down what are the side effects of my medicine? What does this mean if I have a high blood sugar? How can I get it down? Or things like that, pertinent questions. Write them down and then pin that doctor down and make them answer those questions. Again, they're seeing lots of people every single day, and they don't think about everything that they need to tell an individual. So that's where we're filling in with the information that we provide.
As I understand it, the more I kind of do research and learn about diabetes and diabetes prevention, the majority of people aren't managing their disease correctly, and a lot of the times it's because they just don't know how or that they need to.
I think that's true. A lot of people, they learn, it's kind of like learning folklore by oral history. They have relatives that tell them things. Well, my grandmother said not to do this, or they will say something like, well, my grandmother had diabetes and she went blind. My mother had diabetes and she went blind. I have diabetes, so I guess I'm going to go blind also. Well, there's things we can do to intervene, and we need to do everything we can to break that cycle. I think a lot of people want to do what's the best thing. They just don't know.
Right.
Once we explain to them and give them a rationale why you do it this way, they're a lot more than agreeable to try. And once they start realizing they can do these things, it kind of is empowering. That knowledge is empowering. And I always explain to them, I see a lot of people that are keeping their grandchildren while their children are working, their grandchildren's parents are working. And I say, your grandchildren are here, they're watching you, they're learning by example. So if you try to convince them that why it's so good to eat a healthy diet, why it's so good to be active, why it's so good to do a lot of these preventative things, you're teaching them. They're learning from your example. And a lot of the individuals I see, they want to educate their grandchildren. They want to help them have a better life. And like I said, a lot of them, they do embrace the training, and they do, I think, very well. Excellent.
Those are great points that you make. That empowerment is going to kind of create an upward spiral
Yes.
of doing the correct behaviors. And also, like you're saying, for the grandchildren, that's a great motivator for a lot of people. So that's going
Yes.
to get them to change their behavior with regard to setting those examples of being healthier and being active. So that's a great way to go about getting people to be motivated.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, just that I have appreciated the opportunity of being able to work with the consumers of the Lighthouse, and that I think the Lighthouse is on the right track. I really do, or I wouldn't be there. And they have some very good educators in all areas, gait training, all kinds of things that, not gait training, but white cane training. And I just think that they're doing a good job of meeting the total needs of each individual. And that's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do.
It is. And we're so thankful that you are on our team and all of the diabetic educators, because that's another piece of the puzzle. Every specialty has its place. And so you're really helping them be very well-rounded in their knowledge, empowering them to be able to be independent and healthy and manage their diabetes. So we really thank you for your contributions to our team.
Thanks, Lyle. Those were some great tips. If you or anyone you know is visually impaired and managing diabetes and can benefit from our services, you can call 210-531-1547 or go online to salighthouse.org and click on the Request for Services link in the top left. Click subscribe on this channel to be alerted anytime we add new content, and if you haven't already done so, we'd love to have you join our Facebook group, SA Lighthouse Adults and Seniors Programs.